The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
As Jesus got into a boat, his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a violent storm came up on the sea, so that the boat was being swamped by waves. But he was asleep. They came and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we are perishing." He said to them, "Why are you terrified, O you of little faith?" Then he got up, rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was great calm. The men were amazed and said, "What sort of man is this, whom even the winds and the sea obey?" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
We hear in the first reading of all the terrible things that afflict Israel, all the ways in which the Lord tries them, tests them, finds them wanting, and they fall short. And as a result, they become more and more unhappy. And finally, in the fullness of time, the Lord has to intervene himself and send Jesus Christ to become a human being and to redeem them. But they have all of this affliction, and there's this great line from this reading from the prophet Amos of a brand in the fire, that their sufferings had somehow heated them to such a point that they were ready to brand as we would a cattle or something else, to leave a mark upon something else because of the sufferings that they'd endured. Suffering has a way of purifying us, of sort of giving us heat or life that we can then use as a proclamation to a world that does not yet know the one who frees us of our suffering. The same is true in the gospel, that the disciples have an opportunity to trust that Jesus is in the boat with them, that they might be terrified for their lives, they might be suffering at the hands of these waves, and yet the Lord is with them, protecting them, if only they will trust. And it's simply their failure to recognize his presence in their midst, their failure to trust that he is so good that he will protect them from any evil, perhaps even that they do not recognize that death is not ultimately the greatest evil, that the greater evil is a failure to recognize God, a failure to turn to God in our time of need. And so we have this encouragement today, and also the encouragement of the martyrs whom we celebrate today, to recognize that death is not the greatest evil, but that simply a failure to recognize God, a failure to recognize how God imbues our sufferings with the power of prophecy, imbues our faith with the ability to testify and to proclaim the gospel to hostile people, hostile lands. The invitation is for us to trust in the power of the resurrection, that whatever sickness or suffering or even death that we're facing, the Lord is more powerful. The Lord has conquered it because he is with us. He is in our boat, and he only desires that we turn to him in faith and ask him for what we need.